But I don't think this is necessarily the end of this dip, because this dip has only just started. This retrace from pretty much a few days of constant green price action to the upside, well, we need a bit more time. One day isn't enough, most likely isn't enough. So we need to give Bitcoin a bit more time. This was the monthly order block. This is the price action resistance that I was paying attention to. So coupled with the fear and greed index, we know we're in a greedy territory, something to bear in mind and be wary about. And if we have this order block coming up, if we have this monthly resistance area coming up, if we're getting this fear and greed index signal right over here, and this order block is over here, that's two forms of confirmation that you have to bear in mind, that there's a lot of greed in the market, there's a resistance coming. Let's make that quick calculation that, well, there might be a pullback coming. So that's a very good sort of tool to use in your Confluence along with price action analysis. But the thing I'd like to mention before we close is that I'd think about the fear and greed index reaching this range once again. I'd like it to dip into the range and then see where Bitcoin's price is at. Naturally speaking, this range is going to be a reference point for Bitcoin's price, and it's been that way for many, many months. So I'm definitely going to keep watching for this range high level of the previous monthly range, because we've seen a cluster of price action right over here, and it's very possible that we might see another cluster of price action around this range high level. Less than ideal, but at the same time, we've seen this before. We've seen turbulence at these levels before Ethereum continued to 360. I still very much believe that this is the case, so we are prepared in terms of this shakeout. The only problem going forward is that, of course, this cluster of price action represents daily candles, so this is going to be a while. If history repeats itself, it doesn't have to be like that, of course. We can see this sort of messy price action for a few weeks when it comes to Ethereum. But the thing is, we have closed below this resistance, so we're seeing rejection right over here. So the fact that Ethereum has candle closed below the 260 level means that this is a very young rejection from this level for Ethereum. And just like we saw in the past right over here, it could get quite messy. So prepare for volatility in any case. Hello and welcome back to the Rekt Capital channel, and welcome to today's video update about the market leaders, but predominantly through the lens of that small vignette that I did at the beginning of the video. I hope you enjoyed that one, and of course, I hope you're having an amazing day. We're going to be looking at the fear and greed index, Bitcoin and Ethereum's price action. It's going to be a short video because, as you guys know, today is the altcoin hype cycle webinar. Super excited about it. I've prepared a lot of interesting content for it, and of course the pre-order discount ends in only a few hours, 4 hours or so. So if you want to get that pre-order discount, it's in the link in the description down below. It will be awesome to see you there. We'll be covering how to make the most of these altcoin hype cycles, the waves up and the waves down to avoid the retraces. Of course, yesterday's video, which you'll find in the top right hand corner, about Dogecoin and its intricate link with altcoin seasons, that was a video that I posted yesterday, and it's an excellent introduction to the webinar today about altcoin hype cycles. It's all intricately linked. It's fascinating stuff. I really enjoyed making it, and I hope that you'll enjoy watching it as well. So check that video out. But let's dive into today's video, and let's look at the fear and greed index. On the 11th of February, I was talking about how Bitcoin has overextended itself. Of course, if we just look at the fear and greed index itself, this is essentially a sell zone for Bitcoin's price action. It has been the case in this occasion and on these occasions as well, because whenever we see greed overextend itself to the upside, that's not usually when you want to be buying, because everybody else is FOMOing and feeling greedy and pumping in their investments and cash into the market. So don't do what others do. They call that the herd mentality for a reason. You want to act against the herd mentality, because the herd mentality is characterized by emotion, because everybody's just feeling emotional about the market, and that's that's why they make these emotional decisions. So in any case, we've seen a retrace all the way back to this range, right? And because this is something I was speaking about recently, I wanted the fear and greed index just to return to this level right over here, this range overall, so that over optimism and over exuberance can taper off, simply speaking, because we want to have stability not only in the price action of Bitcoin but also in the market sentiment, because the price action of Bitcoin is fundamentally underpinned by this market psychology and market sentiment. So we needed a correction in the minds of market participants as well as in the price action of Bitcoin. So it's great to see that this is where we are at the moment. Stability is being attained when it comes to market sentiment. And when it comes to Bitcoin's price action, that's also something I'm going to be watching for. I mentioned that we have a few clusters of price action at the range high of this monthly range. So this is the range high. And of course, this is the monthly range in of itself. So I just like Bitcoin to have that stability at the range high level. As long as it has that, then that's great. Because of course, if it does break down into the range, then it's very simple to conceptualize where price could return to. Because if price breaks down from here, then of course the next point of reference would be the range equilibrium, the mid-range for this monthly range, which is confluent with the 200 daily exponential moving average, a vital gauge for investor sentiment, long-term investor sentiment. And as you can see, we're still above the 200 daily EMA, which only means that bullish investors, or at least investors, are bullish on Bitcoin in general anyway. And of course, we had the golden cross recently as well. So those are some signs that we're still bullish long term. So it's all about stability. It's all about stability. And if you guys are a bit worried, please don't be worried. Don't be fearful about the market, because on pullbacks, that's essentially where opportunities are found. So it's all about just managing your psychology, because Bitcoin is bullish and these pullbacks are really necessary and they're very healthy at the same time. So it's just all about managing your psychology, being patient, being level-headed, and just keeping the bigger picture in mind. So if you'd like to check out the bigger picture for Bitcoin, check out the video in the right hand corner. I talk about Bitcoin moving to 17,000 as long as history repeats itself, because these are the key recurring tendencies that we see in Bitcoin's price, and I talk about those in that video in the right hand corner. So check that out if you haven't. It's a really good one as well. Really enjoyed making that one. But really, about Bitcoin, we just need to have that stability at these levels right over here, and as long as we get that, then it's all well and good. And that's just all I'm watching for. That's just pretty much it. You know, everybody's going to be very lost in bearish euphoria, because we've seen a retrace and people are going to overextend their targets too much so, and that's very emotional. I feel that whenever we see retraces, people start to become a little bit more acclimatized to the market and what has just happened, and they get more realistic with their predictions for Bitcoin's price. So let's just have that bearish euphoria be cast away over time, and let's not fall into it. Let's just be objective and level-headed about the price action, and that's essentially what my videos are all about, being as objective and level-headed as possible. And this is essentially where I'd like to see stability. If we don't get that stability, then we fall down into the range, which is an easy way to conceptualize price anyway. So let's not think about that ahead of time. Let's just focus on the stability over here, because essentially speaking, this is where I wanted price to revisit, and it has done that with a wick. So far so good, but let's just have that stability going forward. And of course guys, by the way, if you really like this video, please leave a like, and of course subscribe to further videos in the future, because of course I'm more than happy to be providing this content for you guys. So as long as this adds value to you, please leave a like, and of course subscribe for future videos. This is a tweet that I posted yesterday. If you don't follow me on Twitter, please do, at Rekt Capital, because this is a tweet that I posted about Ethereum when it was happening. I spotted a lower high on Ethereum, and we've seen this before as well. As you guys know from the vignette earlier on today in the beginning of the video, we've seen this sort of price action before, and we've seen a lower high over here and a lower high over here, and with every lower high we've seen retraces to the downside, an opportunity for investors to scoop up some Ethereum on the dip. So essentially speaking, this is what I was talking about in yesterday's tweet, and since then we've seen the dip come into fruition. But the thing is right now is, if we just zoom into Ethereum, if we get this daily close right over here below 260, then we're going to see even more volatility, which is of course at the same time something we've seen in the past before, so we shouldn't be surprised. And if we're feeling a bit emotional about all this volatility, let's just remember that in the future we won't really remember this emotion, right? So try to think about all the investors that were buying and selling during this cluster of price action at this time. We don't really feel those emotions. They're so distant to us. You know, even if we were in those moments buying and selling, we don't remember those emotions. We just remember that we bought and then we sold at 360 and we're happy with that. So we don't look at these emotions, and the emotions we're going to experience here, we're also not going to remember, guys. That's why we need to be level-headed for the sake of our future you. You have to be level-headed for future you, because the future you is going to be really appreciative that you weren't shaken out, that you weren't fearful, that you managed your psychology effectively, and you weren't really put off, or you weren't worried about this volatility at all, because this is of course a good chance for Ethereum dip a little bit deeper and provide some financial opportunity for eager investors, because after all, people were hoping for an Ethereum dip, and boy have they got it. They got that dip, and now it's all about making the most of it. But at the same time, we have to bear in mind that we could see that dip really materialize into something deeper, very much like we've seen in the past before. So far, nothing out of the ordinary, so your emotions should also reflect that. Because if we zoom out, and this is something that I was talking about in yesterday's video, about Dogecoin and altcoin seasons, we'll notice that we're seeing a lot of similarities. But let's start off with this ascending triangle on the Ethereum USD weekly chart. We're seeing an ascending triangle, and this is fantastic news because we're also seeing an ascending triangle on Dogecoin right over here, which is, as you might glean from the video from yesterday, is a very good predictor for altcoin seasons. And these green bars just show to you all of altcoins, or at least Dogecoin's market cycles right over here. These are all of Dogecoin's market cycles. If we just overlay that onto the altcoin market cap, we can see that Dogecoin predicts these nice bounces in the altcoin market cap. And whenever the altcoin market cap increases, altcoin valuations also increase. But at the same time, what I'd like to focus on very briefly is that there is an ascending triangle on altcoin market cap as well. So we see it here, we see it on Doge's price action, and we see it on Ethereum's price action. I think it's all self-explanatory. Once we see a breach of those resistances, the tops of those respective ascending triangles, then we'll see fantastic movement for altcoins in general. But at the same time, guys, please be aware that these are all weekly charts. So we live our lives on a daily basis. But if we think about price, it occurs on a weekly basis, right? Because these are weekly charts. So don't be lost in your emotions on a daily basis. Zoom out when it comes to your emotions. Zoom out as you would on this sort of price, because we shouldn't have daily emotions if we're looking at weekly price action. I hope that makes sense. It's quite a nuanced point, but the whole thing is just not to get worried about small fluctuations, small short-term fluctuations in price, and just to keep that macro long-term perspective in mind. And you'll do very well in the market as long as you do that. And of course, that is my sincerest wish to you all, so that you make the most of this market, because we are in a bull market. It's a fantastic opportunity ahead of us, and it's very important not to get shaken out, because of course these shakeouts are merely bear traps before we see a continued uptrend. In any case, that's the end of the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching today. Of course, if you'd like to join the altcoin hype cycle webinar later today, February 20th, that's today, Thursday, that's today, 7 p.m. UTC, and that's in a few hours. Feel free to join the webinar later today, 7 p.m. UTC. The pre-order discount is in the link in the description down below. I hope to see you there. There's going to be a lot of cool content there, amazing energy, and awesome community, awesome people in the live chat answering questions. It's going to be a great session. That's all I can say. Hope to see you there. And of course, thank you so much for watching today. I'm Rekt Capital, and I'll speak to you soon.